Hello everyone, welcome to this course of programming in Python. So far we have covered the basic step of data in Python, and thereafter we moved on to covering string in very detail. This particular session focuses on list. So what list is, how do we create list, how do we deal with the list in Python, what are the uses of list. That is something that we are going to cover in this particular session. So let's get started. Before we start the list, let's set up the agenda for the session. We are going to start by knowing what is a list, basically. Thereafter, we shall learn how to create a list. How to create a list. And once we have created a list, we are going to know and learn about how to access the list, right? And once we have accessed the list, we are going to know how to update the list. When it comes to updating, we have certain things: how to add element in list, how to delete, or maybe I can say update, or perhaps edit is the better relevant word, element in the list. And then I can say delete element in the list. This is something we are going to do. And just like list, we are going to give a look and learn a bit about functions slash methods associated with list, right? So these are the few things that we're going to cover in list. So let's get started and learn what basically a list is. uh, just like I had told you earlier, that if it's a number or float or string, you can directly assign it in a variable. However, if it's a string, you need to enclose the whole data within the quotes and then assign, right? Not every data can be a single entity, something like city. If I write city equals to California, right? Not every data is going to be a single entity. What if I wanted to store cities? Now, if it's a plural, it clearly implies that I intend to store a lot many cities. It could be California, it could be Beijing, Tokyo, Washington, uh, uh, maybe Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, a lot. What if I want to store weekdays? Then I cannot just store Monday in it. It will not be justice to what the variable we have named and what it implies. Like it stores all the weekdays. It needs to store Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Only then it's going to be justice, right? So what is a list? Basically, a list is a group of data. Okay, it's a group of data that we store together. And how do we store it? So basically, if I write here Tokyo, Delhi, Mumbai, and here Oxford, London, so all these cities. Now it makes a sense because you are storing different types of uh, cities together. You are holding them together and storing in the same variable, right? So this is called as list in Python. A list is an ordered group of data which could be of same data type. For example, this is a list of string type of data, right? In the same way, you can also have, say, my scores. 85, 52, 79, 95. So this, what kind of list is this? This is a list of integer data type. I can also have temperature, over a week. And I can say here 22.5, 25.6, 24.8, 26.3, 20.5, and 18.5. You see here, this data is holding float content. So I can, this is termed as, it's a list of float type of data. But remember, list need not necessarily only store same type of data. It can also store different type of data or a mixed type of data. For example, if I write student details, I can write up perhaps his name, say Aliza, school is Saint Martel, and her city is New York, and perhaps her age is 23. So you see here, it has string, it has the number. Maybe I can say what's her weight. Her weight could be 62.5, right? So here float also. So this is a mixed list, mixed type of data, right? So there is no restriction that you need to have a list of same type of data. You can form your list with different type of data also. So these are certain examples of list. In fact, you can also have a list of lists. So I can say if I have even number, something like 2, 4, 6, and then I create another list of odd number, which is 1, 3, 5, then maybe I can write my list equal to even number, comma, odd number. This is nothing but it is as good as something like this. I have a list, and within that there are two more short lists, something like this. How do we deal with such list? We are going to shortly look into it. But so this is my list, which is equal to this. Both are all same, right? Now let's start with our agenda. We have known what a list is. Now let's see how to create a list. Okay, how to define a list in Python. How to create a list or define a list. But before you create a list or define a list, let's see how to create an empty list. Okay, so basically remember a list just like string, which uh, which is defined as a data which is enclosed within quotes. A list is a group of data which is enclosed within square brackets. Remember, it's square brackets. Okay, so if I'm creating an empty list, something like my score, in that case this is an empty list. At the moment I am not storing anything in it, but going forward I will fill my list later on. So this is empty list. There is another way to create an empty list, which is by using a function directly. Okay, I can directly call a function list, and to call a function I'll put parentheses here. So this basically gives me back an empty list. So if I try to print here my score, it is going to give me an empty list. If I try to print here my score 1, comma, my score 1, it is going to give me another empty list, right? So this is how you create an empty list. If you have to create a fill list, in that case, what you have to do is, I'll write here, I'll fill contents in it. Remember, a list, since list is a group of contents, a group of data, each data is separated by a comma. So if I write 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, each is separated by a comma. And if I try to print here, in this case now my score, you shall see that a filled list is printed for you, isn't it? Right. So this is how you create a list. This is not empty, this is filled. Filled or initialized list. Right. Moving on to further, how to access the list. Okay. How to access the list. So it is nothing but how to read the list. So once you have created the list, or once you have the list with yourself, and the list contents are being stored in a variable, then how do you read the list? How do you read the data? Whether it's you're reading the data full, or you're reading the data in parts, partially. How do you do that? To do that, let's have a sample list like cities. Okay, let me pick up cities from here. Yep. So I have a cities here. I have a variable called as cities, and this variable is initialized with this particular set of lists. Now, if I try to print here cities, it's obvious that since I am printing cities, the instruction clearly tells Python that whatever is stored in cities, print that. And if I print whatever is stored, the complete storage is accessed for you and the complete list is printed for you, right? But if you have to access the same list in a partial manner, in that case, you can write here, let me say partially, and here I'll say with respect to index or position. Okay, so very next to this variable cities, you're going to put a square bracket, and in this square bracket you can put any position. For example, if I put 0, then 0th position shall be printed for you, which is Tokyo. And just like your string, please remember that if this is your list, let me just show you how it works. So if this is your list with different elements, so that's the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, and fifth element. Remember, suppose I'm storing here different values. Maybe I'm storing here Tokyo. I'm storing here Tokyo. Okay, and here I am storing here New York. Out here I store Mumbai, Delhi, London, right? If I store values like this, please remember that if I'm trying to read this list in this direction, that is left to right, this happens to be the 0th position, first position, second position, third, and fourth, right? So this is how the position are marked. But if I try to read the same list in the reverse direction, in this direction, then these positions are numbered like -1, -2, -3, etc. The point to be noted here is when you are reading from left to right, it starts at 0th position, and when you're coming from the reverse direction, it starts at -1, 0 and 1. The one thing, another thing is when you're reading from left to right, the positions are positive, but the same thing when you come from the reverse direction, the reverse positions are negative. Okay, now how do you make use of it is, if I'm writing -1 here, that obviously means that I'm coming from the reverse direction, and minus 1. 1 happens to be this position. So if I run this, you shall get London, right? If I write minus 2 here, I shall get minus 1, minus 2. Oxford, I shall get Oxford, right? So this is how you read the list partially with respect to an index or with respect to a position. And just like string, you can also read your list uh, in range. What I mean by range is, let's see, reading in range. So it is as good as in the previous example, the context is I'm trying to access a slice of a pizza or one particular slice of pizza. But here I'm trying to access a range of slices of pizzas. So what I mean here is, what if I want to access the first three positions? What if I want to access the last three positions? Or what if I want to access in the first four positions? What if I want to access only the alternative? That means this and this only. I want to access alternatives. How do you do that? Well, for that, you have syntax. Here, the syntax was cities, right? And square bracket. The square bracket conveys that you are trying to read the data not full but partially, okay? And in this you are giving position number. What position? So if you're trying to access partially, and you know that in list all the elements are numbered, they have underlying positions. So whatever positions you will give, a corresponding element shall be fetched for you and shall be printed for you. But Uh, in this, when you want to read the whole list in range, you are not going to give just one position, but you're going to give the position in this particular syntax: start, end, and then you have stride. What Now? What is start? A start is the starting position. That means at what point do you want to start, right? So uh, if I want to start at first position, in that case I will give zeroth. Okay, I'll give 0. If you want to start accessing data at first position, I shall give 0. And perhaps if I want to end at here, I will give this, the ending position at the end. So for example, if I'm giving here print cities, I am saying I want to start at 0. That means I'm starting here. I'm starting here. But if I tell I want to give 4 as end and 1 as stride, that means I will go up to 4. So I will start at 0, 0th, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let me give another one for better understanding. Let me go up to only 3. Okay, so when I say I want to go up to 3, that means I'm starting at 0, 1, and 2. Remember, 3 is not included. If you look at its number, this is your 0th position, this is your first position, this is your second position, and this is your third position. Okay, and this is your fourth position. All right, when I say ending is third, remember the third is not included. It is up to, you go up to 3. Okay, so 0 to 2 only you will go, right? And 1 means stride. That means each element is considered here. So if I try to print this, you shall get Tokyo, Delhi, and Mumbai, right? So if I write here positions, this is the 0th position, 1 position, 2 position, 3, and 4. All right, so I am going from 0th position to first position and up to third position. That's all. This is the amount of data that I have accessed and printed for you, right? In this, if I write, if I have to increase the content, maybe I can increase Bhopal, I can increase to Kathmandu, I can increase as Italy. Okay, I can include some more. It's not just city, or I can say here compound is fine. Let me keep the Paris, that's fine. Yep, enough data. Yeah. Now if I write here, I want to go up to 5th position, you shall see that Tokyo, Delhi, Mumbai, Oxford, London. If I change the stride to 2, that means from starting at 0, going up to 5th position. So when I say I want to go up to 5th position, that means I'm going only up to 4th position. Since it is up to 5th, 5th is excluded. So I am considering 0 to 4. And in this, when I say 2, that means every alternate shall be considered, or every second element shall be considered. So in this range, this shall be considered, and then second from here, and second from here, like this. So if I run this, you will see that it's Tokyo, Mumbai, and London. So in this range, every second is being considered. That is what Stride tells Python to consider. Tokyo, Mumbai, and London, right? Perfect. Now, let's see how to update the list. When I say update the list, let's first learn how you're going to add the elements in the list. Okay, so you are going to have certain functions, just like in your strings, you had a function like dot replace, you had dot upper, dot lower. In the same way, there are certain functions which are very specific to list only. So these functions you will be able to apply only on the variables which are holding list data types. They won't work with your strings, right? So for example, dot upper is a string specific. You're converting a string data into uppercase. You applying that dot upper on a list doesn't make sense. Python is going to throw up an error. In the same way, if you have to add elements to a list, how are you going to add? So if I have, say, alphabets, okay, is equal to, I'm creating A, comma B, comma C, okay. Let's try to add content in it. So I'll write alphabets dot append. What is append? Append means to add at the end. Yeah? If I'm writing here D, and after writing this, if I try to print alphabets, you shall see that D has been added, right? And in the same way, if I do multiple appends, if I try to append multiple things here, you're going to see those many elements one after the other being appended in the same sequence, right? If I write F here, look at this, D, E, and F in the same sequence, one after the other, they have been appending. If I show you one after the other, you will see that, you see here, I have put multiple print statements so that we can observe what's happening to our alphabets variable step by step, and you will observe that one after the other, the elements are getting added, right? All right. So this is what append does. But the limitation is every time you do the append, it only goes and sits at the end. What if you wanted to add something at your desired position? You want to insert your content or insert your data at the 0th position or the 1st position, right? What do you do? In that case, you have uh, another function that can be applied on the list, that is uh, insert. Okay, so here we were using append, now I'm going to use dot insert. Okay, insert, and here let me write here, um, maybe I'll write z. Okay, suddenly I'm going to write z, and let me insert it at first position. So please remember that insert function takes two content. One is what position you want to insert, and what is it that you want to insert, right? So if I write this and if I try to print alphabets, you shall see that Z has been inserted at the first position. And how does it insert? So it shifts. So earlier, if let me show you here before and after the update. Yep. So okay, okay. So if you see here, this was before the update, right? Before the update, there was no Z, A, B, C, D were continuous. And after that, what happened is this amount of data, Python shifted to the right side by one step. It vacated the first position, and that's where it inserted the Z. And this is how it works. All right. And this is about adding the elements in the list. Now let's see how to edit the element. Okay. Since you know that alphabets are holding ABC, or at the moment here it's holding A, Z, B, C, D, E, and F. If I write alphabets equal to maybe 5, 6, 7, what happens is, what is this instruction? This instruction says whatever is on the right side should be stored in the left side. That means I am asking Python to basically overwrite my existing data. This whole data is getting overwritten. I am wiping out my previous data and I'm storing a new data, right? And if I try to print here alphabets, you will observe that my previous data is completely replaced. So this is like updating the whole data. In case I did not want to wipe out my previous data completely and overwrite the data, then I should have been mindful in what I update. Maybe, see, this instruction clearly says that whatever is on the right side should be stored on the left side. Since me writing this variable name exclusively basically give access for overwriting the whole storage, right? However, if I had written here maybe U, however, if I had written here 0, what happens is at the 0th position, I am saying store U at this location. And where is it pointing? I am saying in the alphabet storage at the 0th position. So what happens is this particular A, wherever A is stored, this is going to get updated as U. Let's see what happens. Yep. So U has gotten updated, right? Look at this. So I have rerun the whole cell, and let me rerun this cell, and now let me rerun this cell. So you will see that the A has been updated by U, right? So this is how you update. In case I have more thing to update, what I'm going to do here is say 0 to 3. So how many elements covered? 0, 1, and 2nd, right? So 3 elements covered. I can store here K, L, M. So I am saying from this position to this position, store K and L, M, N. I'm K and K, L, M, N. So let me see here what happens. So K, L, M, L, and M has been stored correspondingly from 0 to 3rd position. Got it? So this is how we are updating our list. Okay, so we just covered the edit part of our agenda. So if you have to add anything, so if you have to enhance your list, add a new content in a list, you're going to append something or you're going to insert something. But if you have to edit some existing data, so basically the elements are already sitting in your list, they're holding one specific positions. You can pick up one specific position and you can update those positions like this. Make sense? Now let's see how to delete the elements in a list. To delete the element, you know that this is how your list looks like, right? So let me write here. If I'm printing the alphabets, this is how it looks. My list looks. If I want to remove something from it, what I can do here is say I want to remove M. I'm going to write alphabets dot remove and in this I'm going to pass the content. This is going to remove the M. Look at this, M is no more there, right? So what remove does is whatever we are signing here, it is going to scan the whole list and it's going to find is there an element that goes by that name. If it finds, it's going to remove it. But mind you, if you had uh, if you had multiple occurrences of M, in that case it would find it would remove only the first occurrence. I mean, it would remove the first hit of the M. So it's going to scan your list from left to right like this, and wherever it finds the M for the first time, it's going to remove that. All right, fine. Okay, there is another way to remove, and that is called as pop. All right, what does pop do? Let me do the pop here and then print alphabet. So please note, this is how your list looks like this at the moment. And if I run this is how you get. Okay, if I do the pop again and I print the alphabet, you will see that the element from the last is removed. I do the pop again, you will see that another list is okay. I think I should have rerun it. Look at this. Every time you do a pop, every time you do a pop, the last position shall be popped off. It shall be removed. But in case, so just it is working just like append. You know, every time you do something append, every time you append a new data, it's going to get appended at the end. It's going to get added at the end. But when you do pop, every time you do a pop, the last element is going to be removed. Last position is going to be popped off. In case you really did not intend to pop off the last element, what you can do here is you can mention the position. So basically when you do remove, you provide the Python with content what you want to remove. But when you do pop, if you just do pop and you put the parenthesis, it's going to remove the last element. But if you put a specific position, say second, in that case the second position is going to be removed for you. So what's here? 0 1 2, C is lying at the second position, right? So let's see what happens if you remove. Okay, let me just rerun it. I think you see here, C has been removed from this. This is how the pop works. All right. So with this, we have largely covered uh, the delete also. And remember, if I delete, there is another word called as del. Del means delete alphabets. If I do like this, then that alphabet shall be deleted completely. And thereafter, if I try to print alphabet, Python will not be able to recognize. Why? Because you have just deleted the whole variable itself. You have deleted the storage itself. It will say it is not defined. Make sense? Yep. So that is also you can do. So pop basically helps you remove the content at certain position. Remove function helps you remove a certain content with respect to whatever you provide here. Okay. And now let's look at the last uh, thing in our agenda, and that is function and methods that are associated with the list. So basically you have a list. What is list? List is a group of data, whether it's of the same type or different types, that's a different thing. How are you going to deal with the data? Few of the functions you have already learned in the process. So append and insert, these are the functions which you already learned, which are helping you to add the element. You have already learned the remove and pop, which are helping you to remove the elements. But now let's learn few more functions which will help you to deal with the content, okay, or deal with a list. So if I'm creating another, or let me create the data again, uh, alphabets A, comma A, comma B, C, Okay, let's see few more functions in list. I'm going to discuss the most commonly used function with the list, and in the notes that are going to be provided with this session, you will have few more functions, methods that you can refer, read, and play around by yourself to get a better experience in learning. So if I write alphabets dot index, okay, so just like string, if I write C here, it's gonna search for each element in the list, and at whichever position it finds C, it's going to give me back. Okay, so if I'm storing that in some variable, say pause position, and I try to print pause, let's see what do I get by this syntax. What does index function gives me? Okay, if I run this, it says 3. That means 0th position, first, second, third. It's at the third position it found C, right? In the same way, what if, let me, there is another function called as dot count. Okay, it tells how many occurrences of C are present. So if I try to run this, you shall see that it says 1. There is only one C present. But if I write A here, it'll tell you there are 2 occurrences of A have been found, right? Here. And if I write, say, G, it shall tell you that there is only one occurrence of G has been found. So what count does is it tells count of occurrence of element. Index tells index of or position of element in the list, right? And something like this, you have dot clear also. This is going to clear the whole list. Let's see how it does that. If I write alphabets dot clear and then I try to print alphabets, you will see an empty list. Why? Because the clear functionality basically clears it off. Now remember, delete is different. Deletes the memory. Python is not even going to recognize what alphabets is. The clear is different. Clear just empties or cleans the data. It doesn't deletes the data. Okay. Yeah. So that's about it. So we have just learned some basic functions here like index, count, uh, um, pop, remove, append. All these are functions. Remember, although I would have discussed clear and count in index, however, the pop, remove, insert, append, all these are functions. They're all doing the different jobs. Okay, so list, these functions are specific to the list, just like how replay dot replace dot upper dot lower was specific to the string. Dot append dot insert dot remove, all these are specific to the list. I hope the concepts of the list are clear. Please practice these to get a better understanding. The notes that I'll be giving, please go through them and do the hands-on. Play around with the data, create your own list of cities, create your own list of marks, of fruits, or sports, or brands, and try to play around. Try to print the first element, print the last element, etc. It will give you a better learning and visualization of how things work when it comes to list. And remember, list is one of the important topics in Python because uh, if you get a huge data, whether it's the huge data that you're going to get from the server or from the Excel for the data science or the data analytics, this huge data, how are you going to store? Storing them in a one by one variable, it's going to be a costly process, very difficult. You're going to dump them all in the list. So you should know how to deal with the list perfectly, how to store the data, how to access the data, read the data, write, update, etc. Okay. Yep. So this session, we shall call it to closure, and please practice it. Thank you.